The desert wind carried silence and sorrow, sweeping over the broken stones of what was once a proud alien village. The fire had died, but smoke still rose from the ashes. In the middle of the ruin, a young alien woman lay half buried under sand. Her name was Lyra. Her eyes fluttered weakly, pain burning through every breath. She remembered the council's words, cold and sharp like blades. "Rejecting the warlord's hand is rejecting your duty," they had said. When she refused to marry him, her own people had turned against her. They dragged her to the edge of the desert, left her beaten, broken, and bleeding under the two suns. She was meant to die quietly, forgotten, but fate had other plans, far beyond the dunes. A human patrol cruiser roared low over the sand. Its engine whined like thunder. Inside sat Captain Ryan Hale, a battle-worn soldier from the Human Frontier Corps. He was assigned to check reports of rebel movement. He didn't expect to find life here. Not in this scorched wasteland. Through the cockpit window, he noticed something that didn't belong. A faint heat signature, too small for a vehicle, too steady for an animal. His instincts kicked in. He slowed the cruiser. Scanning the area again, then he saw her, a small figure in torn clothes, lying motionless. Her skin shimmered faintly under the sun. Silver blue like the edge of the ocean, he landed immediately. The ship's ramp touching sand with a hiss. Ryan jumped out, boots sinking into the soft earth. The air was dry and cruel. Every step closer revealed more. The wounds on her arms, the cracked lips, the faint movement of her chest. "She's alive," he muttered. Kneeling beside her, he didn't know who she was, but something inside told him she didn't belong here, not like this. He gently lifted her head, pouring a few drops of water from his canteen onto her lips. Her eyes opened slowly, bright violet, glowing even in the fading sun. For a moment, she didn't speak, only stared at the strange figure above her. "The human with armor dusted in gold light, don't talk," Ryan said softly. "You're safe now." But Lyra didn't believe it, her voice cracked. "No one is safe. They will come back." "Who?" Ryan asked, glancing at the horizon. "The warlord's men," she whispered. Before falling unconscious again, Ryan's jaw tightened. He knew the warlord's name, an alien leader known for enslaving entire tribes. If his men were near, they wouldn't stop until they found her. Without another thought, Ryan lifted Lyra into his arms, carrying her to his ship. The moment the hatch closed, he hit the thrusters. The cruiser rose, sand swirling beneath them like a storm. Inside, Ryan placed her on the medbed, activating the field. Blue light wrapped around her wounds. Sealing the open cuts, her breathing steadied slowly, but her face still twisted in fear. Even in sleep, Ryan leaned back, watching her. His training told him to report to command, but something stronger held him back. A human feeling, compassion, outside the window. The twin suns dipped below the dunes, painting the desert blood red, but in the distance, small dots moved against the light. Hoverbikes, armed, heading straight toward the wreckage they had just left. Ryan cursed under his breath. "They're tracking her." He switched the cruiser to silent mode. Rising higher into the clouds, his radar beeped. Multiple contacts. Closing fast, he looked down at the alien girl, fragile yet proud even in her broken state. "Whatever you did, whoever you are, they really want you dead," he murmured. The ship trembled as a distant explosion rocked the sand below. The warlord's hunters had arrived. They found the spot she was supposed to die. And now they would search for the one who saved her. Ryan gripped the controls, setting course toward the nearest human outpost. But deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. Because in a galaxy filled with cold treaties and silent wars, one human soldier had just defied an alien ruler's will for a woman he didn't even know. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the warlord's ships began to move. Lyra's life was no longer her own, and neither was his. Lyra woke up to the soft hum of the human ship. Her vision was blurry and her body ached. The light above her flickered gently. She turned her head and saw Ryan sitting near the control panel, his armor half removed, his face tired but alert. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then the memories returned, the desert, the betrayal, the sound of her own people leaving her behind. Her heart sank. Ryan noticed her eyes open. He stood up, walked over, and offered a small smile. "Hey, you're safe." "You passed out for a while." Lyra looked around nervously. "Safe? No, you don't understand. They'll follow me, they always do." Ryan folded his arms. "They already did. I saw their patrol bikes on radar. They searched the desert, but we were gone before they arrived." Lyra's eyes widened in fear. Then you shouldn't have helped me. They will hunt you too. Ryan shrugged. Wouldn't be the first time someone tried anyway. You looked like you needed help. She stared at him, confused. No one had ever risked their life for her before. Not even from her own clan. You don't even know me, she said softly. Maybe not, Ryan replied. But I know what it's like to be left behind. His words struck her like lightning. She looked away, hiding the emotion in her eyes. The ship's alarm suddenly beeped. Ryan moved quickly to the controls. The radar showed several blips appearing near the horizon. Approaching fast, they found our trail, he muttered. Damn it, Lyra sat up weakly. If they catch us, they'll kill you. And they'll drag me back to the warlord. Not gonna happen, Ryan said, tightening his seatbelt. Hold on, the cruiser shot forward, engines roaring. Clouds tore apart as they climbed higher. Laser fire streaked through the sky, red lines of death flashing past the windows. Lyra gripped the seat, her heart racing. Ryan turned sharply, dodging another blast. They've locked onto us, she shouted. I see it. Ryan growled, pressing the countermeasure switch. A burst of flares shot out behind them, exploding in light. The missiles followed the heat and detonated mid-air. The shockwave rattled the cruiser. But they kept moving. The desert below vanished, replaced by a sea of red rock and canyons. Ryan dived low, flying through narrow cliffs, using the terrain to break the pursuer's radar. Lyra watched him in awe. He moved with precision and calm, even when death chased them. You fly like you've done this before, she said, her voice trembling. Once or twice, he replied, trying to keep the mood light. One of the enemy ships followed them into the canyon. Its engines screaming, Ryan turned sharply left, then right, dodging boulders. Hang tight, he said. He pulled the cruiser up suddenly, letting the enemy overshoot, then he fired. A single plasma burst hit the pursuer's engine, and the ship exploded behind them, flames scattering through the canyon. Lyra gasped. You destroyed it, had to, Ryan said quietly. They wouldn't stop, but his face wasn't proud. It was sad, as if he hated that killing had become normal. The radar finally went quiet. The rest of the warlord's ships had turned back, maybe thinking they crashed. Ryan landed the cruiser deep inside a cave system. Hidden by shadows, he powered down the engines. The silence returned. Only the sound of Lyra's breathing filled the air. Ryan stood up and checked the hull. We're hit, minor damage. We'll rest here till morning. Lyra sat quietly, watching him. Why did you help me, human soldier? She asked, her voice soft but filled with pain. Ryan stopped, looking at her. Because someone once helped me when I was left for dead too. Lyra didn't speak after that. She just stared at the floor, remembering how her people turned on her. How the warlord's guards laughed as they left her to die. Ryan handed her a ration pack. Eat. You need strength. She took it, but her hands trembled. You don't understand what you've done. Captain, she whispered, by saving me, you've made yourself a target of the most dangerous being on my planet. Ryan smirked slightly. Good, maybe it's time someone stood up to him. Lyra looked up, seeing a strange light in his eyes. Not fear, but determination. A kind of strength her people had forgotten long ago. As the night deepened, the cave glowed faintly with the blue light from the ship's engine. Ryan sat at the entrance, keeping watch. The stars outside shimmered over the desert like cold diamonds. Lyra lay quietly, whispering to herself. Why would a human risk everything for me? Ryan didn't answer, but in his heart he knew. Because even across galaxies, some things never changed. Mercy, courage, and the will to protect life, no matter the species. The morning light crept slowly across the canyon walls. A warm breeze moved through the cave where Ryan and Lyra hid. The quiet hum of the human cruiser was the only sound breaking the silence. Ryan stood near the ship's edge, scanning the horizon with his visor. He hadn't slept much. His mind was still filled with questions. Who was she really? Why did the warlord want her dead? Behind him, Lyra sat by the medbed, staring at the glow from the ship's control screen. Her silver-blue skin shimmered softly under the cave's light, but her eyes looked lost, as if haunted by memories she couldn't erase. Ryan turned to her. You're healing fast. That's good, she nodded weakly. Your medicine is strong, human. Stronger than anything we have. Ryan smiled faintly. Humans build things to survive, it's what we're good at. For a moment, there was peace, but Lyra's expression darkened again. She looked down at her hands. You shouldn't have saved me, she said quietly. I carry something dangerous. Something that can destroy both our worlds. Ryan raised an eyebrow. That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? Her voice trembled. You don't understand. I wasn't just rejecting a marriage, I was rejecting an alliance. The warlord's proposal wasn't about love, it was about power. Ryan frowned. Stepping closer. Go on. Lyra took a shaky breath. My people guard something ancient, something buried deep beneath our capital city. We call it the core of worlds. It's said to be a relic from before our time, when stars still spoke and planets were alive. The warlord wanted to marry me because my bloodline carries the right to control it. Ryan stared at her in disbelief. So you're royalty? Lyra looked away. I was until I said no. The air felt heavier. Ryan understood now. She wasn't just a runaway bride. She was the last heir to something powerful, something worth killing for. So they tried to erase you, Ryan said quietly. So no one would stand in his way. Lyra nodded slowly. If he activates the core, it could awaken old weapons. Things that could burn planets. Ryan rubbed his chin, pacing. And now he thinks you're dead, but if he finds out you're alive... He'll come, she whispered, with everything he has. Before Ryan could reply, the radar beeped again, a faint signal. Long-range scans. Someone searching nearby, he cursed under his breath. They're sweeping this area again, we can't stay here. Lyra tried to stand, but stumbled. Ryan caught her, steadying her by the shoulders. You're not ready to move. I don't have a choice, she said. He's getting closer every moment we wait, Ryan sighed. Then nodded. Fine, but you follow my lead. They climbed aboard the ship. Ryan lifted it quietly from the canyon floor, keeping low to avoid detection. As they passed over the dunes, the morning sky turned red with heat. Lyra sat near the window, her eyes scanning the ground below. When I was a child, she said softly, my mother told me humans were just stories. Soldiers who walked among stars and vanished like ghosts. Ryan smirked. Ghosts, huh? I'll take that as a compliment. Lyra looked at him. Maybe the stories were true, but before Ryan could answer, the radar flared red, 6 enemy crafts incoming. Fast. Damn it, they're everywhere, he muttered. Jerking the controls, the ship twisted sharply. Dodging a plasma blast, the sky lit up with fire again. Lyra gripped the seat. They found us. Ryan flew through the clouds, using every bit of terrain to lose them. But the ships were faster this time. Newer models with homing sensors. A sharp explosion hit near the tail. The cruiser shook violently. Alarm screamed through the cockpit, hold tight. Ryan shouted, we're hit. Smoke filled the air. Lyra coughed, covering her face. Ryan forced the ship down toward a nearby ridge. The ground rushed up fast. The cruiser crashed hard, sliding across rock and sand, finally stopping near a dried riverbed. The silence afterward was deafening. Ryan pushed himself up, blood running down his forehead. You okay? Lyra nodded weakly. Yes, I think so. He checked the monitors, engines offline. Communications dead. They were trapped, outside. Faint shadows moved on the ridge, enemy scouts. Searching, Ryan grabbed his rifle, checking the charge. Stay here. Don't make a sound, Lyra caught his arm. If they find you, they'll kill you. Ryan smiled faintly. Then they better not find me. He stepped out into the harsh sun, moving through the wreckage. His mind raced. He needed to buy her time. He needed to survive. Lyra watched him disappear into the light. Her heart pounded for the first time in her life. She felt fear not for herself, but for someone else. Far above, in orbit, a massive ship loomed, the warlord's flagship. His cold eyes watched the desert on his screen, a cruel smile forming. So, the human saved her, he whispered. Good, let him. It will make their fall more satisfying. The desert stretched endlessly. Glowing gold under the twin suns, the wrecked human cruiser lay silent in the dry riverbed, its hull scorched from battle. Inside, Lyra worked fast, trying to repair what she could, her hands trembling. The ship's power flickered weakly. She whispered, come on, please work. Outside, Ryan moved through the dust and shadows, his rifle ready. His armor glinted faintly, covered in sand. He could hear faint voices in the wind, alien hunters searching nearby. Their engines hummed low, closing in from both sides. Ryan crouched behind a rock, breathing slow, counting the sounds. 4 on the ridge, 2 more on hover bikes, he muttered. His visor displayed red dots all around him. He was outnumbered but not outmatched. He took aim at the first scout, a tall alien with silver armor. The blast from his rifle echoed across the valley. The alien dropped instantly. The others shouted in their guttural language. Spreading out, Ryan moved fast, rolling behind cover before another bolt of plasma hit where he stood. The sand exploded beside him, burning hot, inside the ship. Lyra heard the noise and froze. "Ryan," she whispered, fear tightening her chest. She wanted to run out and help, but she knew she'd only get in his way. Instead, she powered up the short-range shields, protecting the ship from incoming fire. Ryan ducked behind a dune, sweat dripping down his neck. The aliens were skilled, using formation tactics. They fired in bursts, trying to pin him down. He switched his rifle to burst mode and aimed again. 2 more shots, 2 more enemies down, but then a blast hit the ground near him, sending him flying backward. His armor absorbed most of it, but pain still ripped through his shoulder. He groaned. Crawling to his feet, a shadow fell over him. One of the hunters, a massive alien with a blade-like weapon, charged. Ryan blocked with his arm guard, sparks flying. Then he swung the butt of his rifle hard against the alien's faceplate. Cracking it, the alien roared and slashed again. Ryan dodged narrowly and fired at point-blank range. The creature fell, smoke rising from its chest. Ryan stumbled back, gasping for air. His vision blurred for a second, but he didn't stop. He looked toward the ship. Still hidden behind the ridge, he had to keep them away from her. Then he saw them, 2 hoverbikes speeding toward the wreck. "No!" he shouted, running. His boots pounded against the sand. His rifle barked again, taking one rider off his bike. The second rider swerved, firing wildly. Plasma bolts struck the ground around Ryan. Lighting up the air, he dived, rolled, and shot again. The final rider fell, the bike crashing in flames. The silence after the fight was thick. Only the wind remained. Ryan limped toward the ship, his shoulder bleeding through the armor. Lyra ran out to meet him, her eyes wide with fear. "You're hurt." "Just a scratch," he lied. Collapsing to his knees, she knelt beside him, pressing her glowing hands against his wound. Energy pulsed softly from her palms. The pain faded as his skin began to heal. Ryan looked at her in surprise. "You can heal." "Not always," she said softly. "Only when I use the core's energy. It still lives in me." Ryan frowned. "You mean that relic you mentioned?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, it's not just a weapon, it's alive. It binds itself to the royal bloodline. When the warlord tried to force me to bond with it, I refused. That's why he wanted me dead. He believes only I can unlock its full power." Ryan looked away, the weight of her words sinking in. "So if he gets you—" "He gets control of that thing?" "Yes," Lyra whispered. "And if he activates it—" "Entire worlds could die." Ryan stood slowly, gripping his rifle. "Then we can't let that happen." Lyra shook her head. "You don't understand. There's no place to hide. His armies span the whole system." Ryan looked toward the horizon, where smoke from the destroyed bike still rose into the sky. "Then we stop running," he said. "We fight back." Lyra stared at him, shocked. "Fight the warlord? That's suicide." "Maybe," Ryan said quietly. "But humans have a habit of doing the impossible." For a moment, Lyra just looked at him, her violet eyes filled with confusion and something new. Hope? Above the desert, the sound of distant engines echoed again. A massive shadow passed over the sands. A battleship descending from orbit, searching. Ryan turned toward the ship. "Get inside, we move now." Lyra hesitated. "Where will we go?" Ryan's lips curved into a faint smile. "To the only place he won't expect, a human colony hidden in the mountains. But we'll have to get there before that monster finds us." As the cruiser's engines roared back to life, the desert shook. The chase wasn't over. It was just beginning, far above. On the warlord's flagship, a message came through. "My lord," a soldier said. "We found the human signal again." The warlord's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Good, keep following them. I want to see how far a human's courage really goes." The night was quiet, but Ryan's mind wasn't. The ship flew low through the mountain range, cutting through clouds like a silver arrow. The stars above were sharp and cold. Glowing over the endless horizon, Lyra sat in the co-pilot seat. Her hands gripping the edge tightly, she looked out the window. Watching the snowy peaks rise beneath them, her voice was soft. "You said there's a human colony here?" Ryan nodded, eyes fixed ahead. "Yeah. An old outpost called Fort Haven. It's off the radar. Built after the last frontier war. No one comes here anymore, not even the patrols." Lyra's eyes softened. "You trust them?" Ryan hesitated. "I used to. The cruiser landed on a hidden platform carved into the mountainside. The engines powered down and the quiet returned. Frost covered the metal walls of the docking bay. Lights flickered dimly, showing the shape of old equipment and vehicles covered in dust. Ryan stepped out first, scanning the area with his rifle. "Clear," he said, then turned to help Lyra down. The cold air bit at her skin. She shivered slightly, wrapping the human jacket he'd given her tighter around her shoulders. "It's so quiet," she whispered. "Too quiet," Ryan muttered, walking ahead. As they moved through the tunnels, old signs in English and alien script glowed faintly on the walls. The place smelled of rust and oil. Ryan finally stopped at a metal door and entered a code. The door slid open with a slow hiss. Inside, warm light spilled from old generators, and a group of people turned quickly toward them, armed and alert. "Ryan?" A man's voice echoed. "Ryan Hale? I thought you were dead." Ryan smiled faintly. "Nice to see you too, Mason." Mason, a tall man with rough features and a cybernetic arm, lowered his gun but kept his guard. "You brought company," he said, eyes moving to Lyra. "She's with me," Ryan said firmly. "We need shelter and supplies." Mason looked at Lyra with suspicion. "She's not human," Ryan's tone hardened. "She's also the reason I'm still alive. So show some respect." After a tense silence, Mason nodded. "Fine, come in. But you'd better explain everything." They followed him deeper into the base, passing tired faces, children playing near the corners, and engineers repairing broken machines. The colony wasn't much, just metal, heat and hope, but it was alive. Lyra looked around in wonder. "So this is what humans build when they're hiding?" Ryan smiled. "When humans are cornered, we survive no matter what." Later, inside a small control room, Ryan explained everything. The warlord, Lyra's story, and the core of worlds. Mason listened quietly, his face unreadable. When Ryan finished, Mason sighed. "You brought a storm here. Old friend?" Ryan leaned forward. "We don't have a choice if the warlord gets that relic. No one survives, not your colony, not her people. Not mine." Mason nodded slowly. "Then we'll fight. But there's something you should know. Communications have been jammed for days. Someone's been leaking our coordinates. We think there's a spy." Lyra's eyes widened. "You mean the warlord knows about this place?" Mason didn't answer, but his silence said enough. Later that night, as Ryan inspected his gear, Lyra stood by the window of the observation deck, watching snow fall over the dark valley below. The stars shimmered faintly above the peaks, she whispered. "I never thought I'd see beauty again." Ryan joined her. "You'll see more of it if we make it through this." Lyra turned to him, her voice quiet. "Why do you risk everything for me, human soldier? You could have left me to die." Ryan looked out at the snow. "Because once someone did the same for me. They didn't ask what I was worth, they just helped. I'm just returning the favor." She smiled faintly. "Humans are strange." "Yeah," Ryan chuckled softly. "But we're good at being strange." Before they could say more, a loud alarm blared through the base. Red lights flashed, the speakers crackled. Unidentified ships approaching. Dozens of them. Ryan's eyes widened. "No, it's too soon." Mason's voice came through the comm. "They found us, Ryan. Get to the hangar now." Ryan grabbed his rifle and turned to Lyra. "Stay close. Don't leave my side." They ran through the tunnels as explosions echoed outside. The mountain shook with impact. Dust fell from the ceiling. The roar of engines filled the air. Outside the fortress, the warlord's fleet descended through the storm clouds. Fire lit the sky. His voice echoed through the comms across the valley. "Cold and full of hate, bring me the girl," he said, "and burn everything else." Ryan looked at the burning horizon, his jaw set. "Looks like we brought the war to them." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly as the core's energy stirred inside her. "Then let them see what they started." The mountain thundered as human fighters rose to meet the alien ships. The battle for survival had begun. The ground shook again, dust falling from the steel ceiling of the hidden base. Explosions echoed like thunder as the warlord's army surrounded the mountain. The once quiet valley had become a storm of fire. Ryan raced through the control corridor, shouting orders. "Seal the lower tunnels. Get the civilians to the vaults." His voice was steady, but his heart pounded hard. Mason ran beside him carrying a pulse rifle. "We can't hold this place long, Ryan. Their firepower's off the charts." "We hold until everyone's clear," Ryan said firmly. "That's not a suggestion." In the command room, Lyra stood before the glowing map, her eyes fixed on the red dots closing in. "They're breaking through the north ridge," she whispered. There's too many. Ryan turned to her. Then we fight smarter. He grabbed a holomap and pointed to a narrow canyon. If we collapse this ridge, we can trap their vanguard and buy time. Mason nodded. I'll handle the charges. Lyra looked between them, her voice trembling. Even if you stop one wave, more will come. The warlord won't stop. He's using me as bait to draw you out. Ryan met her gaze. Then we'll give him something he didn't expect. Outside, the mountain roared with gunfire. Human soldiers fought bravely against the alien invaders. Blue plasma lit the snow, turning the night into a glowing battlefield. Ryan and Mason led the counterattack, their weapons cutting through the smoke. Ryan shouted into his comm, "Lyra, status!" Her voice came through, tense. "They're inside the south corridor. I'll try to lock them out. Just stay hidden," Ryan replied, firing again. But Lyra didn't hide. She ran toward the lower levels, her heart racing. She could feel something inside her pulsing stronger with every blast, the core's energy. It was waking up, whispering in her mind, "Release me." She reached the sealed chamber at the base's heart. The walls hummed faintly, reacting to her presence. In the center stood a containment sphere glowing blue. Her hands trembled. "No, not now," she whispered. "If I use you." "There's no turning back," the core answered with a low hum that shook the floor. Its light spread toward her like living fire. Meanwhile, outside, Ryan and his team fell back as the ridge exploded, rocks crashing down, burying enemy mechs under the avalanche. But it wasn't enough. More ships descended from the sky. The warlord's banner glowed across the clouds. Mason shouted over the comm, "Ryan, they're inside! The south gate's breached." Ryan's heart sank. "Lyra," he muttered, turning and running back into the tunnels. He reached the lower level just as energy waves rippled through the floor. A strange light flooded the corridor. Bright and cold, he shielded his eyes. Then he saw her. Lyra stood in the center of the chamber, her hair flowing like liquid silver, the core's energy swirling around her like a storm. Her eyes glowed white. "Lyra," he shouted, "stop. You'll burn yourself." She turned slowly, her voice echoing with power. "I can feel it. All of it. The core is alive. It's connected to every world it ever touched. It remembers the wars, the pain, the death." Ryan stepped closer. "Then let it go. Don't let it control you." She shook her head, tears falling even as light surrounded her. "If I don't use it, he'll destroy everything." Before Ryan could stop her, the core burst into full power. A beam of energy shot through the mountain, slicing the clouds above. Outside, the warlord's soldiers froze as a blinding wave of light spread across the battlefield. Their weapons melted in their hands, their ships powered down, engines died, leaving them stranded midair in orbit. The warlord's massive ship trembled. Alarm screaming, his eyes widened. "No!" She awakened it. Inside the base, Ryan stumbled as the ground shook. He looked up and saw Lyra floating above the chamber floor, her body glowing brighter than the sun. He ran to her, shouting, "You're killing yourself!" Her voice was faint now. "It's the only way." To stop him, Ryan reached out, pulling her down. The light around her began to fade. Her body trembled violently. She fell into his arms. Weak but alive, the core dimmed. Returning to its dormant state, the mountain stopped shaking. Silence filled the air once again. Ryan held her close, his voice low. "You did it. You stopped them." Lyra's eyes fluttered open, her voice barely a whisper. "No. He's still out there. I can feel him watching." Ryan looked out through the broken wall. The night sky burned faintly where the warlord's ship retreated into the stars. "He'll be back," Ryan said softly. "And next time, he'll bring more." Lyra nodded weakly. "Then next time, we'll be ready." Ryan looked at her, his expression fierce but calm. "Together," he said. Outside, the first light of dawn touched the snowy peaks. The battlefield was quiet now. The warlord's forces were gone. But the war was far from over. In that silence, Lyra rested her head against Ryan's chest, whispering, maybe the stories were true? "Humans really don't give up." Ryan smiled faintly. "You're damn right." The wind howled across the mountain peaks, carrying the scent of burned metal and cold ash. Smoke rose from the battlefield below. The human colony was half in ruins, but it still stood. Ryan watched from the cliff edge, armor cracked, hands trembling from exhaustion. He had barely slept. The last battle had cost them too much. Good men, good friends, and almost Lyra. She sat nearby, wrapped in a silver blanket, her skin pale. Her eyes stared at the dawn, quiet but distant. The core's power had weakened her badly. Yet even in her silence, she carried a strange calm. Ryan knelt beside her. "How are you feeling?" She smiled faintly. "Still alive." "Thanks to you," he shook his head. "Thanks to you. You saved everyone here." Lyra looked toward the horizon, where the rising sun painted the clouds red. "No, I only delayed him. The warlord isn't finished." "I can feel his presence still," Ryan frowned. "You're sure?" She nodded slowly. "When I connected to the core, I saw him. His ship wasn't destroyed, it was only pushed back. He's gathering his fleet beyond the dark moons." Ryan stood, gripping his rifle. "Then we'll go after him before he comes for us again." Lyra looked up at him, her voice weak. "You can't. You'd never make it past his armada." Ryan smirked. "Who said we'll go through it? We'll go under it." Later that day, deep beneath the base, Mason and the remaining engineers worked to repair the old stealth carrier, the Vanguard, a relic from the human frontier wars. Ryan stood beside the ship's hull. Checking the systems, Mason glanced at him. "You're really doing this, huh?" "One ship against a warlord?" Ryan nodded. "We've done more with less." Mason sighed. "You're insane." "But that's why I'm coming with you." Ryan smiled. "Wouldn't have it any other way." Lyra approached slowly, her strength returning little by little. "If you go, you'll need the core." Ryan shook his head. "You're not using it again. It almost killed you." She stepped closer, placing her hand over his. "Then teach me how humans fight, because I'm coming with you," Ryan tried to argue. But her eyes held that same fierce light he'd seen in battle. He finally nodded. "All right, but if it gets dangerous." She cut him off gently. "It's always dangerous." That night, under the cover of stars, the Vanguard lifted off, silent and invisible. The colony below faded into the mist. They entered the cold void of space, heading straight for the dark moons where the warlord's fleet gathered. Thousands of ships formed a wall of steel and fire, glowing red under the twin suns. Inside the Vanguard, Lyra stood by the core chamber. Hands pressed against the glass, the faint light inside pulsed with her heartbeat. Ryan's voice came through the comm. "Ready when you are." Lyra closed her eyes, whispering, "Forgive me," and reached out to the core. Outside, the human ship vanished completely. Bending light around itself, it slipped between the warlord's ships like a shadow, undetected, from the command deck of his flagship. The warlord watched the void, his voice cold and cruel. "Find them. I can feel her power near." Ryan and Mason worked fast, planting pulse charges across the enemy's fuel lines. 3 minutes till detonation," Mason said, his hands shaking. "Good," Ryan replied. "We'll give the galaxy a fireworks show it won't forget." Then the alarm blared. "Detected, damn it." Mason shouted, "They found us!" Dozens of fighters launched toward them. Ryan grabbed the controls, diving the ship through the fleet. "Lyra!" "Now would be a good time." Lyra stood in the chamber, light swirling around her once more. "Core of worlds, answer me," she cried. A blinding wave of energy erupted from the ship, spreading outward like a storm. The warlord's fleet shuddered, engines failing. Weapons flickering out, ships collided. Explosions painting the stars in gold and blue fire. The warlord screamed, slamming his fist on the control console. "No! She dares again!" He rose from his throne, his eyes burning red. "Bring me the human ship alive." Ryan turned sharply, dodging a blast from the warlord's flagship. Mason shouted, "Charges ready!" "Then let's end this," Ryan yelled, hitting the trigger. The explosions tore through the fleet, chain reactions lighting up the void. The warlord's ships vanished in fire, his command bridge breaking apart. Inside his burning ship, the warlord stood defiant, his voice echoing across the comm. "You think this ends me, human? You think your kind can survive the stars?" Ryan replied coldly, "We already did," and cut the line. The Vanguard sped away as the warlord's flagship exploded behind them. A wave of light chased their ship, shaking it violently. Inside, Lyra collapsed. The core's glow fading, Ryan caught her just in time. "Stay with me," he whispered. Her voice was weak, but her smile was soft. "We did it, didn't we?" Ryan nodded. "Yeah, we did." Outside, the battlefield turned silent, debris drifting across the stars like snow. The warlord's empire had fallen hours later. The Vanguard landed back near the mountain colony. The survivors cheered as Ryan carried Lyra out. The war was finally over. She looked at the horizon, the suns rising together for the first time in years. The stars. "They look peaceful now," she whispered. Ryan smiled. "Let's keep them that way." Lyra turned to him, her violet eyes glowing faintly. Maybe one day, both our kinds will share this peace, Ryan looked at her. Maybe that day starts with us. As the twin suns rose higher, their light touched the world below. Warm and bright for the first time, both human and alien stood together. Not as enemies, but as survivors. And in that quiet moment far above, the core pulsed softly inside the ship, alive and watching, waiting for the next chapter of their story.